9/11 and the invasion of Afghanistan.
Then I looked up, and all of a sudden it smashed right dead into the center of the World Trade Center.
This group and its leader, a person named Osama bin Laden.
Before we can talk about one of the largest tragedies in American history, we need to establish the context for the situation. During 1979 to 1989, the Soviet-Afghan War was taking place. With the rise of a very prominent communist government and leader Mikhail Gorbachev, they wanted to spread their influence across the globe. In the midst of the Cold War, the Soviets felt they needed to exert their power in a country like Afghanistan. With thousands of Soviets entering Afghanistan, millions stood up to fight for their country. One of these people was named Abdullah Azar. Him and a large group of others created the organization called Mujahideen, who stood up to the Soviet invaders and called for them to leave their country. Eventually, Mujahideen were the victors and ended the communist invasion in Afghanistan. Al-Qaeda was the newly formed terrorist group in Afghanistan that was created after Azar's death, in which bin Laden would be named the leader of. His intentions were to unify the Islamic world, but he did so in an evil and a malicious fashion. Al-Qaeda took responsibility for many terror attacks across the nation, including ones in Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, and the United States. Due to the imprisonment of soldiers in Al-Qaeda and American troops surrounding Saudi Arabia, Osama began his hatred for the U.S. He then planned the largest terror attack the nation has ever witnessed. Will, did you hear? 2 planes just crashed into the Twin Towers.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? Who did it?
We don't know, but it's terrible.
Alright, I'll go check the news.
Okay, see you later. On September 11, 2001, disaster struck.
There is much that is not known about what is happening.
19 members of Al-Qaeda were able to hijack 4 planes by sneaking in box cutters and knives. 2 out of the 4 airplanes crashed into the World Trade Centers in New York City. Another crashed into the U.S. Pentagon holding military personnel. The last plane was directed at either Capitol Hill or the White House, but was disrupted in its course by other passengers on the plane. The plane crash landed in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. It left 2,978 innocent people dead, including 130 military members. These actions led to immediate repercussions. Al-Qaeda was quickly blamed for the attacks, and the U.S. reached out to the Taliban to hand over the terrorists. The Taliban refused, and after only 1 month after the tragedy, George W. Bush commenced the invasion of Afghanistan to retrieve them.
On my orders, the United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
In their first airstrike, over 3,000 casualties occurred and thousands of soldiers were sent to end the Taliban regime. Millions of dollars were invested in this one invasion and the results it lacked. Most of Al-Qaeda were able to flee to Pakistan, including Osama bin Laden. Till this day, the war in Afghanistan has not ended. The Taliban still control almost all of Afghanistan. Casualties have reached over 100,000 and trillions of dollars have been wasted.
So, Kazem, how has this event impacted the modern history?
Well, this event has impacted my life because every time I try to board an airplane, I get searched now. In all seriousness, this event has led to major improvements in national airport security. Advancements such as the TSA and air marshals have been required on every flight and airline. Additionally, all dangerous items are prohibited, such as bombs and razor blades. Although many great improvements were made in security, many citizens are profiled for their ethnicity. 9/11 is not a forgotten event in the past. As each anniversary passes, millions of Americans participate in the remembrance of those affected by the attack. The 9/11 Memorial Bill signifies what our country has overcome and what we can do to improve. If 9/11 didn't happen in the first place, then air travel would be much less safe, and more likely than not, a separate air attack would have occurred. 9/11 will continue to have a huge impact on the future as it does today. This event will be passed down through generations to remember and never forget what happened on September 11, 2001. He did it.